That's it now. That's the one. That covers everything from hospitals to children's nurseries to prisons. Same difference, maybe. 49 assessment issues across 9 environmental sections. Sections have stayed the same. If anyone here has done 3 or 4 BREEAM assessments, they'll have noticed under 2008, a lot of the credits are actually very similar. Do you know, whatever you do, there's certain credits that are always cropped up in all of them. There are around like 43 of the 60 credits. The same question, maybe slightly tweaked for the different types of schemes, but they're all there. They've just taken that a step further. They've tried to link in with other things like SIBSI and other elements, considerate constructors, just to make it less, I don't know, less red tape, less work to do on site, less work for the designers to actually prove it does. Do you know, why not use a metric that someone's already using elsewhere just to validate what's actually happening? And the criteria still attached for various building types, occupancy and all the rest. 2011 has 2 elements that it doesn't cover, and that's the reuse of buildings. If you're doing a refurbishment, if the actual area of refurbishment is 65% and 35% new build, then you can still do it under 2008, and then you can still put fit out through 2008. So the scope, as I said, we use one manual, but what they've done is they've also merged various things together: offices, industrial, retail. You know, similar kind of commercial schemes, similar types of elements. Going all through, I'll not fly through all of them, but what they've got down here, other non-residential, they've actually brought in certain things which still fit under the manual. Taken away from what was always a bit of an issue, whereas something came up as a BREEAM bespoke scheme, it meant that you had to pay the BRE somewhere between 2 and 5 grand for them to work out which credits you were doing. It was always a bit of a nightmare at the outset to work out which credits you were going to do, and when you argued with the BRE, or you just sat down and did them, and then sometimes you accepted credits.
2 of them are talking about historic things, so I'm going to talk about Town 22 and Planning Policy Wales to kick us off. Did anyone ever see this document when it was published back in May 2009?
Yep.
It was my first introduction really to Welsh Government, and actually it doesn't have to be Welsh Government, national government types of policies. And I thought, when I heard all this new planning document or guidance document, the technical advice note coming out, it would be, I don't know, I had this feeling that everything that came from government was always that big, thick and complicated, and it made people like us, you know, vast fortunes in money, because we were doing ones we wanted to sit down and read it and try and disseminate it all. So I was really disappointed when I got it, and it was lying on my desk, and it was a page. And well, actually it was 2 pages, it folded out like that. It had a front page and a back page of a picture, and about, I don't know, 300 words of text in there. I thought, this is a bit disappointing now, because I can't, you know, justify some of the fees that we were planning on charging people to give them this information. So, in a nutshell, what was Town 22? Sorry if I'm going over old ground with people, I'm sure I probably am. But back in September 2009, when the guidance took effect, all residential units for 5 or more had to achieve the residential equivalent of BREEAM, which was Code for Stable Homes Level 3. And the important bit, why I've highlighted it now, because I'm talking about the energy credits, is that there was a minimum of 6 credits in Energy 1, or the kind of equivalent of 31% reduction in CO2 emissions over the code changed, I think, I'm not an assessor, and someone back me up on this one now, code changed just before BREEAM in terms of its, from its previous format in 2008 was code. Being changed to 2010? Please, come on, it's participation time now. Come back, I'm pretty sure code changed before BREEAM. We mentioned the date of July this year for BREEAM.
Yeah.
November, yeah. Yes, thank you very much. November 2010. So anyway, yes, we've had since November 2010 on the residential side, we're no longer looking to achieve, actually what I should have done here now is make things slightly easier if people are thinking, hang on, you've got this technical advice now. We also have a change in 2010 for Part L. So we've got 2 different dates sort of running around the same time but not quite together. A change in the planning requirements, which was what the Town 22 driver was, and a change in building regulation requirements followed shortly after in 2010. Okay? So I'm just trying to compare the two now. In 2010, when the Part L changed, it became tougher to achieve Part L compliance. You would have thought then, okay, if it's tougher to achieve Part L in 2010, should we now look at the requirements for the energy section as a planning requirement, only a planning requirement now, for the code and BREEAM? And there has been some guidance document which came out shortly after the code change. The new requirements are under the new code scheme, just for planning purposes now, there is 1 credit for the energy section, which equates to around about an 8% reduction in CO2 over current regulations, 2010 regulations. Okay? So prior to that, it was a 31% reduction over 2006 regs. Now it's an 8% reduction over 2010 regs. Okay, just for everyone to recap now, 5 requirements for Part L 2010. We only ever think of one of them. And that's actually the one I'm going to focus on now, which is the target emission rate being, the building emission rate being equal to or less than the target emission rate. I'm hoping, because I don't want to, I was told I could only use 6 slides, sorry, and I've ended up putting about 30 in there, and I should have made it 20 minutes and it's going on, I know now. But everyone's fairly familiar with the requirements of Part L compliance. If they're not, you can actually speak to me about it later. But essentially, your building has to be below a target. That's it in a nutshell, I think. Sums up quite nicely. Oh, this slide even does it even more justice. I pinched this off a seminar I saw the other day. We put our user inputs, this is where we get involved now. We put our actual U values and building fabric details into a piece of computer modelling software. SBEM is a type of modelling software. And it generates 2 buildings side by side. One set of information goes in, generates an actual building and what we call a notional building. The notional building has some set parameters and defined parameters and pumps out at the end a target emission. And then our actual building, based on our actual parameters that we put in, gives us our building energy rating. And as long as that is lower than the target, then the building is compliant. Permeability has now been put down to as low as 5. If you're designing buildings, you have to take that into account, please do. It's no longer any good just putting in a 10 as a figure there for your air permeability. Right, those are the subjects I know quite a bit about. This is the one that's going to get me out because I'm not the BREEAM assessor, but I'm going to give you anyone my best shot. Right, it wasn't as simple actually as the old document that we had in 2008, which I browse now and then. And there's a lot more information. Actually, when it came to E anyone, it was a lot more technical than it used to be. And I found it pretty tough going back then anyway. But there's 15 credits available. I'm not sure what the weighting is on energy anymore, whether it's around about where it should be. Okay, so it's 15%, let's just say it's 15% available from this single credit. It is the credit that provides the single most opportunity to apply percentage points to your assessment. I think I'm correct in saying that. I hope I am anyway. At this moment in time, there is a minimum requirement for planning to achieve the requirements of Planning Policy Wales to get 6 credits as a minimum in the energy section, Energy 1 section. Okay? But like I alluded to, that is likely to change in the next 4 weeks. Regardless of that, we have to park that to one side now for a second. If you want to achieve an excellent rating on a building, after this guidance document will come out, you still have to achieve 6 credits. So remember, Planning Policy Wales requires a very good rating, and at the moment 6 credits in the energy section. However, if the building is excellent anyway, it still has to achieve those 6 credits in the energy section. So, how is it calculated? Well, we used to do it longhand, believe it or not, and now the BRE have taken that opportunity for error and calculations to go wrong and given us a rather nifty calculator to give us the energy performance ratio, which takes into account not just how the building performs the BER against the TER, but consumption and demand in terms of electrical usage. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's a 25% improvement over 2010 regulations, and for an excellent rating, always comply with Planning Policy Wales. Okay, we've done that quite a few times now. Here's a work example. First bit of it, the Brockle report. Anyone familiar with the Brockle report? A few people there. This, yes, it works. Anyone ever seen one of these before? Yeah, okay. This is your compliance document for building regs. This is what you get at design stage for the building. We've inputted all the information, and no doubt a number of you guys do as well. Here you are. Target emission 19.8, and this building emission is 19.5. So yeah, a big thumbs up because it's green. The building emission is lower than the target. That's your Brockle document. It's about 4 pages long. So stage 1 of getting this calculation for the Energy 1 on the Energy 1 calculator is to have a copy of this Brockle report. It's vital. You can't go any further without that information. You need your all important figures. And because you can't really read it off that report, I decided I was going to do that part for you and take the, I think it's on the last but one page, you have all the data together in a nice little table. So you can see heat and cooling demand for this actual building is 130 joules per metre squared against a notional of 138. I'm not going to read numbers off the screen for you though, you can see where I'm getting at with this. Okay, technical stuff, it's not actually that technical really. Hit the button down, I need the calculator. I only saw this for the first time today. I should have polished my presentation a bit more. But this is the BREEAM calculator. Now, for the BREEAM assessors in here, you're probably all now familiar with it. I'm guessing though that not everyone is a BREEAM assessor in here, are they? Right. Can the BREEAM assessors just give me a nod? Is this calculator open to everyone, or is it that you assessors, finding it for yourselves?
No, I think the BRE have opened up a lot more.
Right. I put it this way, if you go digging deep enough on the BRE's website, you could probably get an Excel spreadsheet which gives you this manual in a sort of a PDF format. And we have a figure, where am I looking for this part now? Okay, bottom. But we have number 315, cell 315H is 0.452. I'm going to put a slide up in a second, don't move just yet, though, Darren, that will show your credit and what it has to equal in the ratio. But this calculator is now telling us that we've actually achieved 5 BREEAM credits for this particular building. Is this a live building that we've worked on? Yes, okay. That's good. Well, kind of good, maybe. And it gives a total contribution to the building score, so I think the weighting then is actually slightly lower for the energy section of 3.65%. So we're getting 5 credits, but actually provides 3.65% for the overall BREEAM assessment. Okay, let's go back if you don't mind. We have a ratio there of 0.55. For those techies amongst you who want to figure out exactly how that ratio is derived, you won't get it just from the technical manual, we'll give you guidance on it. There's sort of the magic formula you have to ask BRE. I was going to ask them today if they would want to mind providing me with it. I've got a feeling the answer is going to be, I don't know actually, you can make your own mind up what you think the answer will be there. So for excellent rating we need 6 credits, and actually for the excellent rating, and that should be BREEAM outstanding I think, for the 10 credits you need to get this ratio down to 0.72. Unfortunately, and through no one's fault really, SDEM has always been used as a design tool, because if you don't comply with the requirements of Part L, and this is the way to demonstrate compliance, the building can't be built. This is what happens quite often. We'll get our solution now with renewable technology. And because of that, I'm not a fan of renewable technology. I'm not a fan of the way renewable technology is used. That building would never, ever, in a million years, use the hot water output from 20 square metres of solar panels. But 20 square metres of solar panels is the tipping point between passing and not. I tried it at 15, just as a little exercise, it didn't quite pass. So what I did is, what a lot of people do is just, let's put some technology, let's put solar panels on, sounds like a good idea, without the thought process going into it. Without the thought process, that school's not going to be occupied in the months of July, August, September. That the hot water demand during the day, there was only a few toilets in there, it's going to be